Welcome to Sold with Webinars, a podcast that aims to uncover how the most successful experts, coaches, consultants, and e-course professionals sell their products and services with just one sales presentation or webinar. A simple sales webinar can transform the business and life of a solopreneur. And this podcast will show you how other experts just like you are generating 6 and 7 figures per year online with their webinars. So let's get started. Hey, what's going on, webinar rockstars? Joel here, and welcome to another episode of Sold with Webinars. Oh man, you guys are in for an amazing episode today. It's been a while since I've tuned in with an interview style episode, and I wanted to bring to you two very talented, very successful entrepreneurs in the internet, in the marketing space. So I just hopped off my interview with Matt Wolfe and Fier from Evergreen Profits. Now, they also run a podcast called the Hustle and Flowchart podcast, and we had such a blast. Matt and Joe are just two amazing guys, very lighthearted, very fun, and we just jammed on all things webinars and marketing and traffic. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to bring this episode to you because they have a very unique approach to running automated webinars, and we also talked a lot about traffic today. We haven't had anybody talk about Google traffic, and so we talked for quite a while on Google traffic. We talked on this thing called the Invisible Podcast funnel that they are doing, and also what they're doing with webinars. So you guys are going to absolutely love this episode. I hope you understand how fun and lighthearted that these guys are, because I had such a blast on this call. So without further ado, let's jump into today's episode so you guys can figure out how to leverage a unique style of automated webinar and also learn a bit of traffic in this episode as well. Okay, without further ado, let's jump right into it. Hey, what's up, everybody? Joel here with another very special episode of Sold with Webinars. And guys and gals, today we are going to have a lot of fun. It has been a while. It has been months, actually, since I have done an interview style podcast on Sold with Webinars. So you guys are in for a very special treat. And we're actually doing something very unique today that I have yet to do. I have two special guests on the show today, Fier and Matt Wolfe with Evergreen Profits. Matt, Joe, welcome to the show, man. Guys, sorry, I'm always used to saying man. Mans.
Men. How you doing, Joel? Thanks for having us, man.
Yeah, we're excited.
Yeah, I'm super excited. It's been a while since I've had anyone else to kind of jam on. I'm just normally on my phone or sitting behind a computer screen talking to thin air, but we get to jam today. We get to talk all things webinars, all things traffic strategies. You guys are doing some amazing things with your podcasts and webinars on the back end. And I would love for you guys to just give us a quick 1 to 2 minute introduction. What is Evergreen Profits? How did you guys meet? Let's do a quick intro.
You can kick it off, Matt. We always do this kind of thing. Like, who's going to tell me?
Yeah, so Evergreen Profits. So we've had this long sort of progression of what we do. We started as an info business. We've done some agency work. We were a consulting company. Then we eventually circled back around to being an agency business. And then we circled back around to being an info business. But for the better part of 3 years now, we've been an education company where we sell online courses. We have a podcast called the Hustle and Flowchart podcast, where we talk about branding, traffic strategies, and systematizing your business. And we have courses on traffic, affiliate marketing. We have a course on chatbots, content marketing.
We do a lot with affiliate marketing, so it's kind of like the invisible part of the business.
Yeah. So our largest revenue driver, we always tell people this, our largest revenue driver is actually affiliate products. We sell way more with affiliate products than we do with our own products. We do have some consulting in the mix, but for the most part, we're a digital marketing information company where we sell education and we recommend software and tools to people who go through our educational courses, and we earn affiliate revenue off of those.
So you do a combination of affiliate and selling your own products. That's awesome. And where do webinars fit into your business model? I know, Matt, you said it was on the back end somewhere. So where is it in your business model?
So at the moment, we actually don't even have any webinars for our own products. We do webinars for other people's products. We have webinars for affiliate products. And the way we do webinars is actually fairly unique from the way most people do them. So the way we typically do webinars is we'll find people that already have really good, high converting webinars, and they have an affiliate program. So just for a simple example, let's just say ClickFunnels. ClickFunnels has a handful of really good, high converting webinars already that work really, really well. So what we would do is we would go and find one of their webinars that they're already running. We'd go and get permission and say, can we run this webinar as well? And we'll get like Russell Brunson to create a little intro on the front of it and say, hey, thanks so much for joining me today. I'm here with Matt and Joe. We're going to dive into some really cool stuff. We'll have them create a little intro for us. We'll tack on that intro to the front of the video and then use their existing automated webinar and just run it through our own automated webinar sequence, drive our own traffic to it, and we start making sales off the affiliate product through it.
That's awesome. It's brilliant on a couple different levels. So I'm not big into affiliate marketing. I'm kind of getting into it a little bit more. It's like, in my opinion, it's like the holy grail. It's like you sell something and then you forget it and you just get paid, right? No fulfillment, right?
That's exactly why we focused on the marketing side of it, traffic, and that's where we love the traffic. If you can control eyeballs and direction and engagement, then you can sell anything. So we just made a very conscious effort to focus on affiliate marketing because we like to experiment with so many models, obviously, throughout the last, and we've been working kind of on and off together for 12 years. So we have a long history back. I know we didn't say that, but we tested everything, but affiliate marketing always was that thing in the background. And we just slowly kept ramping it up. And like you said, you don't have to fulfill in the product. You just lead them up to that conversion point and then, all right.
Yeah. Saying that though, affiliate marketing does have some downsides. With affiliate marketing, you do lose a little bit of control. Let's say you're sending people to somebody else's sales page. You don't necessarily have a ton of control over the conversion. All you can do is sort of pre-sell them before they hit the page where the conversion happens. You don't necessarily have all the tracking. So if you're running Google ads and Facebook ads and things like that, it's difficult to have a conversion pixel on the success page after someone buys. So some of those little things we've had to find workarounds for or get really creative to help optimize for conversions and things like that. So there are some downsides, but the biggest beauty of it is, like you said, you push them over, they close the sale, they do the customer support, they handle all the development, all of the expensive hard part. All we get to do is focus on driving traffic and being marketers.
Yep. So I joined a really expensive webinar mastermind a couple of weeks ago because I'm so I've never really been in the JV webinar game. And it's a beast. So like it's its own like ball of wax over there. And so I've got a couple of partner clients that I'm working on. And so I always just want to learn from the best, right? And I've learned about the strategy of getting custom introductions from the partners, very similar to what you guys were doing. And if I understand correctly, so you're taking their existing auto webinar, right? And the only thing
get permission first.
yes, getting permission first. And so you're taking that existing automated webinar and you're just tacking on a custom introduction, right? And that's it.
Right.
I mean, you're sending them to the same link, or is it still your affiliate link? Or I mean, it's got to be your affiliate link.
What we'll often do is we'll actually make our own custom call to action at the end as well, so that we're overlaying our own specific URL. And occasionally we're throwing in some additional bonuses because we do have info products and courses we've made over the years. So we will tack on some additional bonuses and things like that at the end as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah. We like to, as much as we can control in this affiliate game and this process, we try to do that. And I think that starts also with our relationships. And that goes for anybody listening, is we all have our own relationships. So that's a great place to start with any affiliate marketing if you're interested. Is you can get some better access. Maybe you can put a conversion pixel on they'll allow you to drop a pixel on a custom conversion page.
Yep.
So things like that. If you can just leverage the relationships, you can definitely do a lot more.
The beauty of affiliate marketing, just to kind of add to that point, the beauty of affiliate marketing too is if you find some products and you can do really, really well with them and you can sell a lot of them, usually the product creator is pretty willing to work with you. So what we've noticed over time is when we start driving a lot of traffic and a lot of sales to some of these affiliate offers, they're more likely to go create a custom landing page for us and a custom success URL for us after the purchase. And we can send them a little document with our tracking pixels and they'll paste them on there for us. So we do have a handful of affiliates that have done that for us, but that came after we kind of gave them some results. Then they know, okay, we're legit, we're the real deal. We can drive traffic, we can drive sales. Let's go ahead and work with them to help them scale what they're doing.
I love it. So how many webinars do you guys typically run of affiliate automated webinars, like at one time? I mean, is it usually just one at a time, or you guys got multiple funnels running at once?
We have multiple. We don't try to do too many because we like to keep our finger on the pulse. So we have about 3, I would say 2 to 3 at any given time.
Yeah. I think we have 3 going right now.
Yeah. So yeah. And that way, because we constantly love to optimize. So we're constantly looking at just all of our metrics. We like to have a handful of metrics for every part of our business, really. So, looking at conversion rate, how much traffic we're sending, and then make the tiny little tweaks. And it's just those small incremental growth, maybe 2-3% every single week. I mean, that stuff's going to compound into something great, call it a year from now or a month from now.
All right. So let's talk about what you really love to do, like traffic and brand awareness, right? So where do we even start with this, right? So with traffic, okay, so let me kind of give you an insight. My primary source of traffic comes from two things: podcasts and paid media. And also, until like the past year and a half, I didn't realize how much traffic I could generate from just organic Facebook, but that's a big source as well. So like those are my three primary sources of traffic. Like, what about you guys? Like, you're the traffic junkies. Like, let's talk traffic.
So the way we teach traffic is we try to create symbiotic relationships between all the traffic sources. So being on podcasts is a big one for us. Doing our own podcast is a big one for us. But then really the meat of what we do and what we teach is a combination of SEO, Google ads, and Facebook ads. So those three are our kind of big three focuses that combined with the podcast. And that's really what we're doing. And then of course, we're building a list as we go. And that list is going to help us drive repeat traffic and returning visitors.
Yeah.
But the core three that we focus on are SEO, Google ads, and Facebook ads. And we're starting to experiment with YouTube ads a little bit, but we're not experts on that yet.
And we've noticed recently, because you hear about the Facebook experts or the YouTube guys or the Google guys, and we've interviewed a ton of them. It's cool and all, but we're like, okay, we don't want to just get pigeonholed into one thing. Just imagine a platform getting slapped or your account gets banned for some reason. You don't know why. So we like to spread the deck, diversify. And there's different psychological things happening on different platforms too. So if you can kind of think, where are your people at the time you're trying to engage with them, set it up with the right kind of content on that platform, but then tie them all together. So you're kind of everywhere to your perfect audience, your perfect avatar there. And that's really kind of like the paradigm shift that a lot of folks don't think about. Mm-hmm. Figure out, okay, what's your best input? For us, it's usually Google ads.
Really?
And see, that's that's a common response. It's like, wait, what?
Yep. What? Google ads are big for us. Yep.
But then a byproduct of that is SEO on very targeted keywords. So then that's free traffic. So you do both. And then you have the Facebook retargeting pixels, GDN, Google retargeting pixels, and you do YouTube retargeting. So then you're kind of feeding the pixel and then leveraging all the platforms.
Yeah. So just to kind of piggyback on what Joe was saying, he was saying different platforms have really different purposes for driving traffic, right? So Facebook, it's not the greatest traffic platform for going at somebody cold, right? If we just put an ad out there and we targeted, let's just say, fans of digital marketer and said, hey, we're teaching traffic, come buy our traffic course, it's probably not going to do too well because most of the people we're getting in front of, they don't know who we are. We don't have any credibility with them. They're just scrolling through their news feed. They want to see what their family members and friends are up to. And they see a traffic course thrown in front of them and they're like, I don't know what this is. They just keep on scrolling, right? Google, on the other hand, there's a lot of buyer intent traffic on Google. So if somebody was typing into Google, how do I run Facebook ads? How do I drive more traffic? Any sort of keyword around how do I get more traffic, that's going to be a lot more buyer intent. This is somebody that has a problem in this moment that is doing a search to find a solution to that problem. That's why we like Google ads and SEO so much, is we show up in those search results when at the moment they have the problem and we provide their solution when they're searching for it, then we're much more likely to make that sale than if we're just kind of in the feed when they're scrolling through Facebook. So the way we run traffic is we start with Google ads. Google ads are pretty much always our starting point. We try to think of what would somebody be searching for that is the ideal prospect for our product. What keywords would they be searching for? So let's just use an example. And we do this with affiliate offers too. We do it more with affiliate offers than we do with our own courses. So let's just say, for an example, we have a product that helps people put opt-in forms on their blog, a little slide-in plugin that you can opt in for. So if somebody was searching for best blog opt-in plugin, right? They're obviously searching for a plugin right now. What we'll do is we'll put an article that's closely tied to that keyword they just searched for. The article might be, here are 10 blog opt-in plugins that we recommend, right? So we'll probably have one that we really want them to buy, but we'll kind of compare 10 so they're getting the full range.
And all 10 will have an affiliate link probably, right?
They would all have affiliate links, but the one we really want is the one we try to push them to through our content. right? So they'd read that article. Chances are most people aren't going to buy off of reading that article. We've noticed that we do get a percentage of people that will buy directly, but most people won't buy off that article. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take those people over to Facebook, over to Google Display Network, and then retarget anybody who read that article with the one affiliate offer that we wanted them to buy in the first place. So they'll read our article. We sort of built some credibility. We are now their expert because they just read an article from us when they searched for the problem they're having. We just sort of indoctrinated them through our content. Now they're going to start seeing ads from us on Facebook and on other people's blogs through the Google Display Network. And we're just going to be and our offer to this affiliate product is going to pop up everywhere for them. And that's when we close the sale, is through that retargeting process.
Now, this is fascinating to me because I never thought that ads could be profitable with affiliate products. I mean, not that I didn't think they couldn't be profitable, but I would assume that it had to be a pretty high commission percentage. If you're selling a tool and you're running ads to an affiliate offer, that's just kind of internal beliefs that are breaking in my mind right now. But also, I don't advertise on Google, so I have no idea how much Google costs to run ads.
It depends. Yeah. And we kind of have a baseline for affiliate commissions is we want to have about $100 commission minimum to us. But more often than not, I mean, we're able to have at least a 50% margin or so there to kind of have some budget for Google and all the other platforms we're advertising on.
And I think one of the things that we do when it comes to traffic and buying traffic is we actually only run our numbers about once per month. And we do all of our advertising and we look at it in aggregate. So let's just say this opt-in plugin that we're talking about here, at the end of the month, we'll go and do an audit of how well it did. So we'll go and say, okay, how much did we spend on Google ads and Facebook ads and Google Display Network? How much did we spend across all of these to promote this product? How many sales did we make on this product? As long as how many sales we made on this product is more than how much we spent, we're going to keep on going with that promotion, because we're looking at it in aggregate. Because it's really hard to say, okay, we're spending a lot of money on these Google ads and we're not making any direct sales off of these initial Google ads. So it's easy to say, okay, those aren't profitable, let's turn them off. But these Google ads are what are feeding the pixel that's making that second sale, or that's making that second impression and getting that sale. So you kind of need to look at your ad spend as this bigger picture, not just a per campaign sort of thing. And that's a big mind shift that I think a lot of people need to get over in order to run this kind of strategy.
Well, people quit too early, usually. I mean, that's the thing. They don't let the promotion actually run and let the pixels. I mean, that's the thing. So many people try to figure out the targeting and beat the system, for Facebook or Google. But if you get really good at that input, that's kind of, and like we said, Google AdWords is really where our best input is for engaged audiences. If you can do that and then feed all the other pixels, let the rocket scientists at Facebook figure out the best targeting for you and all that. And then you can get really kind of funky with it, creative.
Yeah. That's amazing. So is the primary reason that you guys start with Google, is it because you're going with buyer intent? You can target with buyer intent, or is Google also much more scalable than, say, Facebook?
It's definitely the buyer intent element. We haven't found it, the way we do things, we haven't found it to be a ton more scalable for the reason that a lot of times we're going after sort of long tail keywords. There's a few ways to scale. So the way we typically start is we'll start Google ads with just targeting the US. And if something starts to really pick up and drive a lot of traffic and build our pixel and we start seeing sales, we're going to go, cool, that's working. Let's add in the UK. We'll just clone the campaign to the UK. Next, we'll clone it to Australia. Then we'll clone it to Canada. Then we'll clone it to New Zealand. And that's about as far as we'll go. A lot of times we won't even bother going into countries where English isn't the first language because it doesn't generate enough results for us. So the two ways we can scale really with the Google side of things is going after different territories and then finding new long tail keywords to go after. The thing is, we're kind of lazy when it comes to that. Once we have 5 or 6 long tails that are really, really working for us, we're not super motivated to go and add more. At that point, we typically go, all right, how do we go and do this again with another product?
Because it reduces your traffic pool, right? So if some people on here might not be familiar with SEO and long tail, but the longer your search query, right, the less, the more niche it's going to be, is the less pool of the audience, right?
Yep. Exactly. And then the way SEO fits into this mix is once you find those handful of keywords that work really well with Google Ads, then you kind of go and figure out, how do I optimize these so I can actually get these keywords showing in Google for free? And then that adds a whole new layer of, now some people are clicking on the paid ads. Some people just ignore the advertisements, scroll past them, look at the organic results, and we're showing up there as well. So that would be sort of our phase 2, is you find those keywords that are working with the Google ads and then figure out how to try to rank for them.
Where do webinars fit into this? Have you ever leveraged paid ads for your affiliate webinars? Talk about that. Like, because I've never, like, Google's blowing my mind right now. Like, what you guys are talking about with Google is blowing my mind. And so, yeah, I mean, has this ever worked for a webinar strategy?
Definitely.
So with Google ads, we're never driving traffic straight to a webinar. We've never done that with Google ads. However, we are building a ton of different retargeting pixels based on interests, right? So if somebody goes to our blog and they read an article about this opt-in plugin that we're talking about here, then next time they're on Facebook, the offer we could be putting in front of them is one of these automated webinars. So that is that's the type of thing we would put in front of them with the second phase retargeting stuff. First phase, find people that have the problem through Google. Second phase, retarget them to the offer. That offer could be an automated webinar. It could be straight to a sales page. It could be all sorts of things. So that's one way. The other way that we do webinars is another thing that we haven't even talked about really yet, is our various podcast funnels. We do what we call invisible podcast funnels. I don't know if you want to get into that now or if you want to like save that for later, because that's kind of a whole new tangent.
Why don't I do this? Let me do a summary of what I've learned so far with your paid traffic, because I'm very fascinated with your invisible podcast funnels with automated webinars. But I want to make sure that our listeners are getting this in bite-sized chunks, so we're not getting going all over.
I feel very fire hosey right now. So
it's great stuff, man. It's great stuff. It really is. So you're driving traffic. You got phase 1, drive traffic from Google to some sort of blog post, right? To build that audience of people who are problem aware and just looking for a solution. And depending on the product, then you have your phase 2 approach, which is then you bring in Facebook and then you bring in your retargeting on Google Display Network. And that is where you would promote your webinar. Do you promote webinars on Google Display?
We haven't done it with Google Display. It's mostly Facebook, actually.
It's mainly Facebook.
With the webinar specifically, it's mainly Facebook. One more element to what you were just saying with the recap too is with the blog posts that we're driving them to through Google, you can't really just go hire an English as a second language writer and have them come in and write these blog posts for you. You need to make pretty quality blog posts, because another element of this is you were trying to become their go-to expert, right? When they land on this piece of content, you want them to read it and be like, oh, this person knows their stuff. This is who I trust. They put out good articles. So if you're trying to sort of rush it and just have somebody cheaply make you an article, it's not going to be super effective. You've got to actually have some decent quality content so that when people do see you again in the future, they're like, oh, I remember him. He has good stuff.
Mm-hmm. And this is for SEO purposes, right? Well, actually, just for all purposes, for buying purposes.
And that's the thing with Google is people try to, or they think the SEO is a little tricky or all that stuff. That's an amazing byproduct. It actually bypasses a lot of our paid traffic, but it starts with Google. But if you can give them good content, Google's really worried about engagement. So if you can keep them on the site, maybe take them to another link that's another valuable thing within your ecosystem, Google's just going to reward you with better rankings overall.
Yep, that's awesome.
We could go down a whole SEO rabbit hole if you wanted to.
That's
also.
Probably a good one. Right?
That's okay. Yeah, I don't think my audience is SEO aware right now. It's still awesome. Phase 1 of getting the clicks based on the buyer intent, and then phase 2, retargeting. It's almost like an abandoned cart sequence. Like I've had this theory that webinars, and I have yet to test it. I've had a couple people who wanted to test it with me, particularly in e-commerce, but we just never pulled the trigger. I think webinars would be super effective with abandoned cart. Like it's like, oh, they're so close, but like they probably don't have enough information to make the decision. Boom, hit them with an automated webinar, retarget with an automated webinar, and sell them like a more expensive version of what they've already shown interest in. Like I think a webinar would crush it with abandoned carts. Excuse me. Okay, so that is your paid traffic strategy. Now let's talk about this invisible podcast funnel. And Matt, we kind of talked a little bit about this via chat, but I'm all ears. And I think my podcast listeners will be very much interested in this as well.
With our podcast funnel, it borrows a lot of concepts from the stuff we've already talked about. So we don't need to kind of go over a lot of things. But what we do with our podcast is if you ever tune into our podcast, we don't have any sponsors. There's not really any strong calls to action in it. It just kind of seems like we're getting a guest on. We're chatting with the guest. We're having a good time. And we get some good information. And then the show's over. And people are like, cool, I love their show. But they're not asking for anything. What's going on here? Well, what's really going on is we always drive people back to our show notes page. So every episode that we do, we make a cheat sheet of the episode. It's kind of like a Cliff's Notes version. So at the end of the episode, our call to action is go to the episode, get the cheat sheet version of this episode so you can have some notes and a quick reference guide for this episode. So we send them back to that, and then we're retargeting them. We're pixeling every single person that comes back to our site and grabs one of these cheat sheets. And then what we're doing is we're putting different affiliate offers in front of them based on content that they listen to on the podcast. So if we had a podcast where we talk about webinars, for example, we might start showing retargeting ads to EverWebinar or Stealth Webinar or one of the webinar platforms that exists out there. So you just listen to a podcast about webinars, and now all of a sudden on Facebook and Google Display, you start to see ads around webinar tools. So that's essentially the invisible podcast funnel. Is you listen to the show, you go and get the Cliffs Notes, and then all of a sudden we're going to follow you around with very, very relevant products to promote to you. And it works with actually pitching on webinars too. So for example, a guy named Aaron Fletcher, we've had him on the show a couple times. We actually automated a version of his webinar, which was the version that was already running. We just had to make an intro and an outro for us. And he was on the show twice. And anybody who went to those show notes pages, they started getting followed around on Facebook with a registration to dive even deeper with us and Aaron. And that webinar ran for months and months and months and months. Aaron changed up some of his pricing structures and made some changes to his business model, so it's not running anymore. But that over a period of 3 months made about $10,000 just from people who listened to the podcast, saw that webinar registration, opted in, and went through that whole webinar sequence.
And you can get a little bit more tricky with it if you want. And the idea is we always send folks to the show notes page so we can capture them. So not only are those pixels capturing folks, the email system, but we're getting push crew, mini chats on there, anything that we can capture and control that audience and follow up. I mean, we're just trying to really be everywhere to those people. And they're all segmenting themselves along the entire way. So they're getting tagged and all that stuff.
So is it every podcast you do that with, or do you have some where it's not associated with an affiliate?
Some are more general, so maybe we don't have because affiliate products, we have about 6 or so, but a handful of those we go deeper on. So we don't spread the deck too wide. But for the more general ones, we have a sequence that are the 10 favorite tools that we use for our marketing. That's our stack. So that'll most likely be the opt-in. And then from there, then we can figure out what they're interested in, if they're engaging with that email or purchasing. So it's just another way to kind of dive deeper in that way.
Yeah. With our podcast, we have a handful of criteria that we look for our podcast guests. One of them is, do they have an affiliate product that meets certain pricing criteria that we can get behind? If they do, we're interested in having them on our podcast because we'll talk about what the tool does and then do this sequence. But we also use our podcasting as a branding sort of publicity thing. So if somebody's got like a best-selling book or they're a big name and are well-known in the industry, but maybe don't have an affiliate product, we're willing to bring those people on because that's just going to help grow the podcast and help get more eyeballs on what we're doing. So, we've recently had David Allen on who did Getting Things Done, and Mike Michalowicz who did Profit First. Now, they don't have affiliate products, but they're well-known names that are New York Times bestsellers that most people in this sort of entrepreneur space know their name. So it's a credibility booster to us. It brings more people into the show. It brings more people into that ecosystem. And then those people, although they listen to that podcast and we didn't have any offer for them, ideally they're going to listen to future episodes and we will have offers for them in the future.
Yeah, it's the whole building goodwill and then making offers. I just had Mike on my podcast a couple months ago, or middle of August. Yeah, when he launched Clockwork. Yeah, he was a great guest. He was a lot of fun.
Yeah. He ironically bought one of our affiliate products, and then we reached out to him because we saw his name and then had him on our show. We're going to be on his. And we just love kind of getting a little creative, thinking a bit a little long term. I think a lot of folks just go for the sale too quickly. And when we're talking the traffic, that's almost like that paradigm shift we have to turn around. Same with podcasters. They're not thinking, how can I actually pull out some revenue from my listeners?
We've gotten to a point with the affiliate products that we get people referring others to our link instead of the main thing, because they were like, these guys, you need to see what they're doing. You need to get their bonuses. You need to sort of get in their ecosystem. So we've actually gotten to a point where a lot of people refer to our affiliate links instead of the actual product creator's page when they tell people to buy a product. And that sort of brought this interesting thing where now people are actually discovering us as a result of our affiliate products as well. Like the example of Mike Michalowicz. He bought a ThriveCart, which is a product that we promote. He bought it through our link. We noticed his email come through our little feed of people who bought. We're like, hey, it's Mike Michalowicz, Profit First. I love his book. I got it on my shelf. So we reached out to him and said, hey, do you want to be on the podcast? So there's this like all this sort of like symbiosis that's going on between all of these things that are going, and everything feeds everything else.
I love it, man. That's the name of the game, especially with traffic and selling. It's you got to have the right combination of brand awareness, providing content, providing goodwill, and then making offers. And like finding that perfect formula it's what we all do in business. We all try and figure it out. But I have found after running 2 podcasts now that podcasts just produce the absolute best quality leads. And I don't understand why. I mean, I have an idea. I have my assumptions, but it's like, man, I get people who just reach out to me. They're like, can I give you money? Like almost literally that's what they're saying. Like, listen, whatever you're selling, like I'm in. And I love podcasting. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, people who listen to podcasts, they're people who love to consume content, right? So if they're listening to podcasts, it means that especially longer form podcasts like our shows are usually like minimum an hour these days. Sometimes they stretch hour and a half because we just go really deep with people. And anybody who's listening to an hour and a half show with our guest, there's a good chance by the end of that episode, that guest pretty well indoctrinated themselves with our listeners, and they're going to be more interested in going down the rabbit hole with them.
Right. It's like an hour and a half long webinar. They're spending time with you. And, as long as you've captured their attention, you've provided that goodwill, there's a high likelihood that they're going to take action and take that next step with you. All right. So I want to kind of just dive a little bit more deeper on webinars, right? Because I haven't had anybody on talk about affiliate marketing like you guys do with webinars. Has your strategy with affiliate webinars always been this custom intro, custom outro, or kind of tell me a little bit about that journey? Because that's highly leveraged. Like that's super high leverage right there.
I think it all starts for us. It's always been relationships. So we're not the types that are just promoting everybody. We'll start there. Yeah. And I wouldn't recommend doing that because we like to use the products. We like to get to know the product owner and have goodwill already between us so we can work together as a team to actually create something amazing. So once we tick all those boxes and we know, okay, we're working with someone cool here and the product's really good and we're going to make enough money, that's when we'll probably do a live webinar. So we did this with designer Paul Clifford recently. And he had a new offer. We knew it's a great product. We love him. And we tested that out. And then that's one that we've turned evergreen or about to flip the switch on. Yeah. And so typically it starts like that. It's a live webinar. We're not super concerned if we have a ton of people on there, and be very honest, we don't always do. And that's okay because we know our automations and our traffic's going to really back us up in the long run. Again, it's like that long-term thinking.
Yeah. I mean, we've done quite a few live webinars over the years. We've been doing online marketing since 2007. And we went full time at it in 2009. And I don't even think automated webinars came into the picture until maybe 2010, 2011, when Rich Sheffrin and Mike Filsame really started going deep with them. So back then it was live webinars were pretty much all we were doing. But yeah, I mean, nowadays it's like if somebody comes to us and says, hey, can we do a live webinar to your list? And we look at the offer and we say, yes, this looks like it would be a good offer for our list. We'll run live with them and then we'll take that recording and automate that. But our big thing is automation. We don't want to be in a position where we're having to run one or even multiple webinars per week. They're time consuming. There's a lot of preparation. There's a lot of marketing that goes into loading up these webinars. If we can automate that stuff and make them just kind of work, yeah, the conversion rate is not as great as if you did it live. Probably for us, we've seen about 50% of what we do if we did it live. But for us, the automation factor is worth it.
It's your brand, right? Evergreen Profits.
It kind of works. Yeah.
So when did this idea of the custom intro and outro come into play? Like where'd you guys see that first?
I've got to give credit where credit's due. I actually had Sean Vossler on the podcast. I don't know, this is probably 2014 or so. And he kind of broke down that strategy that he was doing. He was actually promoting ClickFunnels at the time, doing that exact strategy. And so he broke that down on the podcast that I had with him. And we sort of adopted it, tweaked it, modified it, and sort of ran with it.
So I've been following Sean for a little while, and he commented on a couple of my posts. I've never met him personally. We've exchanged a couple of messages, but I'm going to go listen to that podcast. So that was back in 2014, right?
Don't quote me on the dates, but I'll send you a link to it.
That'd be great. And so what's the name of your guys' podcast? Is it just Evergreen Profits?
No, it's called Hustle and Flowchart.
I was way off.
Yeah, totally.
If we were really smart about it, we would have matched our business brand with our podcast. But If you haven't listened to our podcast is fairly silly, fairly lighthearted. We do get a lot of good depth of info out of our guests, but we also just kind of goof around and have fun and kind of learn about our guests a lot too. So we wanted a title and a brand and a sort of feeling with the show that showed off that personality and that goofiness and that just, we all have fun. We're all real people, no matter how big of a guru you are. Like fart jokes are still funny to everybody.
Oh, yeah.
And so we wanted to be lighthearted, and Evergreen Profits kind of felt very corporate-y, right? So, we have two brands now. We have Evergreen Profits brand and we have Hustle and Flowchart brand.
Well, it's also like, it's kind of, it's a synopsis of who we are too. I'm more the hustler kind of mindset, the quick start. Matt's more the analytical. Let's map this all out. So it's that on the show, you're going to get a combo of those brains, and it's cool because you have different questions then. So you're pulling out different things for different people listening. So it's the best part of our business. Like we enjoy it the most. That's why we like to automate a lot, so we can do more of the podcasting, honestly.
Automating is the key. You got to automate. You got to build systems for everything. Otherwise, you're just going to be hustling all the time. And that's recipe for burnout.
Too much hustle, not enough flowchart makes Matt a dull boy.
There you go. Keep writing that on the wall, Matt.
All right. So being the automation guys, being the systems guys, building this evergreen stuff, can you give us some insight on like some of the biggest things that have made the biggest things on the automation side and the system side that have made the biggest impact in your evergreen piece of the business? I know it's kind of like a loaded question, but like, is there anything that jumps out more recently? I mean, there's been so much new technology that jumps out all the time. You got bots, a while ago it was push notifications, now it's bots. And like, what do you think has made the biggest impact in the world of online marketing for the benefit of systems and automation?
So I'll say my part. Maybe Matt has a different idea because this is kind of how we work. For me, I really love clarity and simplicity, though. So we've been recently coached by some folks, and if you can really hone in on what your KPIs are, these key indicators in your business that will give you a result, and just focus on these 3 to 4 numbers, things like conversion rate, traffic, and all that. You're not focused on the money per se, that's the result. If you can just always optimize those things that will get you the result, and then check in every week, set goals, see how far you're off, the change between your goal and the actual, and then focus on just it's just the small little incremental changes. This is what the small optimizations to ads, to the pages, to the webinar. And then you're going to slowly start to see those numbers keep creeping up every week if your eye's on the ball. Mm-hmm. We've done that. It was really this year was that big change. And legitimately, it's like every week you just see bumps 3 to 5% or more, and sometimes consistently every week. And we're like, holy crap.
Yeah.
It doesn't take radical change. That's the big thing.
That's just really good fundamentals, really.
Right.
Because for a long time we had this idea in our heads that we're trying to find these big wins. Let's go do this launch and put $1 million in our bank account. Let's go find a webinar that's going to convert at 20% that we can just open the floodgates and it's going to make us 10K a day. And we're constantly looking for these big wins. And every time we went into one of these things getting excited about it, they would always kind of fall lower than expectation, and we kind of beat ourselves up over it. But what Joe was saying is what has really been the biggest game changer in our business is find 2 or 3 things that work and just make small optimizations. Just try to improve 2 to 3% each week on your small optimizations. And it adds up over weeks and months to really, really, really big results. Now, from a tool standpoint, there's been a lot of new tools and automations and technologies that have come onto the market that we've definitely leveraged and had really good results with. Bots being actually one of them, using MiniChat the way we use MiniChat is we put it on all of our offer pages. So any of our courses, if we're doing an affiliate product where we have our own custom landing page, we're going to put a little MiniChat code on there and ask people if they have questions. And we'll actually close sales straight through chat of other people's products. So people will ask us questions about the affiliate product we're promoting. We'll answer them and close sales. We have a salesperson on our team who helps us do a lot of that.
Well, that salesperson a lot of the times is me. I think if folks are listening, it's if you can get personalization into your marketing of some sort, it doesn't have to be you. I just enjoyed talking to people. I don't do it all day long. I'll pop in there a couple times, answer a few questions. I'll even shoot these personalized Loom videos. So Loom's a free little app on Google, Google Apps. And then it's insane the feedback that we get, and the messages are like, holy crap, I did not think I would get a personal message from you. You just sold me. Like, I don't even need to ask any more. And it's an instant credibility booster, value, or trust bonder, whatever you want to call it. It's just, it's amazing. And that's how we got Mike too, Mike McAllowitz, that I think he quoted, we have him on our podcast saying, he's like, dude, you guys do better support and marketing than product owners typically do for their own business. And we're like, what we're going for.
Mm-hmm.
So mini chat's great for that.
So one other thing, we hired an operations manager. She's been working with us for about 6 months. And what she's basically been doing is all of these systems, like some of the ones we've talked about, and we've got a ton of systems in our business. We've actually been making these little Loom videos, sending them over to her. And then she's actually been going through and making checklists and documenting every single thing we do in the business. So that ideally, if Joe and I want to leave for a month, she has all of these systems SOP'd out. We can, bring in temporary work. We can hire people full time. And all she has to do is link them over to these SOPs that she's built. It's a little checklist with the Loom video embedded in it, and somebody could be up to speed within a couple hours.
That's awesome. So I partnered on our new company. I have a full-time chief operating officer, and I'm the starter. I'm the fire starter. I'm not the finisher. And it's like, oh man, it's night and day difference. It's night and day difference. Like I wouldn't be able to do these podcasts if I didn't have, like, that business is running completely on autopilot right now. And it's the most liberating feeling in the world. So I completely hear you there.
That's awesome, man. And that's the same feeling we have. So
yeah,
it's necessary. And you don't need a full-time, so you can just get someone in the States for $20 an hour, as long as they have great organizational skills, they check all your boxes, they fit with your culture, and they have that brain for operations and getting shit done. Because we both have it in different ways. I'm probably more like you, Joel, where it's like quick start. But either way, yeah, everyone needs that person, that manager.
Love it, guys. I keep saying man. Sorry. I'm normally talking to one other person. It's just like default in my language. So, well, guys, we talked about a ton today. You're traffic guys, you're awareness guys, and you have some really cool things going on. We talked about, you broke down your traffic strategy, your paid traffic strategy, which was, leveraging Google with highly targeted long tail keywords, buyer intent, and sending traffic to those pages and then retargeting on other platforms to push them to the sale. Now, like, going back to that, I'm just going to quickly recap why my mind is blown. Like, I'm used to paying such expensive costs on Facebook. Like, I usually only sell high ticket products, our own programs. And you said that you're looking for at least $100 commission sale, and you usually have a 50% ROI, which means your cost per sale is usually $50 with that strategy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And usually the product is giving us a much higher commission than that. That's the conservative number, I would say, right?
So your baseline is 100.
So everybody that we're retargeting on Facebook nobody's cold on Facebook, right? Everybody has already experienced the product. Everybody has already experienced us, and everybody already knows our opinions on the product by the time they see that ad. So I think that's where the real magic happens, why we get such low cost per sale. And then I think a lot of people are really scared of Google ads. They don't know the costs. They've heard, back in the day, 3 years ago, Google ads got really out of control with costs. They got really, really, really high cost per clicks. It was because they were kind of the only game in town for traffic for a while. And Facebook came in, started eating their lunch a little bit, and surprisingly, Google ad prices started to go down again.
I wonder what.
Right? So now Google ads are very affordable. Now that it varies niche to niche. If you're trying to sell life insurance or something, you still might pay $50 a click on Google. But if you're in a marketing space like we are, and we're trying to go after long tail keywords around tools that only entrepreneurs would be interested in, we get, I'd say on average, 50 cents a click from Google ads.
Then you got the retargeting and does all the magic for you. It might sometimes take 5 to 7 touches, but the whole aggregate, that's the number that matters the most.
Now, I will say this, on Facebook, when we are retargeting them on Facebook, we have been known to pay $5, $6, $7 a click on Facebook. But these people that are clicking on those Facebook ads are pretty much the hottest leads that we found.
Yeah, I'm used to paying like $3, $4 a click on Facebook. Yeah, that's crazy. So anyway, that's what we talked about with your traffic strategy and your affiliate strategy. And those retargeting sequences can be webinars as well for high ticket products and high ticket programs, or low ticket. It doesn't have to be high ticket, but and then for your invisible podcast funnel, which we talked about, which was brilliant. I mean, basically your podcast is your blog that you would do on the paid traffic side, right? So you talk about one niche topic on that podcast. Anyone who's interested, you send them to your call to action, which is grab the cheat sheet, which is your show notes, and then you retarget them with the relevant offer there. And what would you say is more effective of those two, the paid traffic funnel or the invisible podcast funnel?
Oh, hands down, the paid traffic funnel.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, the podcast funnel works well, but it's really our way of justifying running a podcast and actually having it being monetized, right? So we do make money off of the podcast. Most of our money comes from our paid funnels.
It's a much longer term play as the podcast. If you're going for more of the sustainable direct to revenue path, definitely the Google, Facebook retargeting route is the way to go.
Yep. Yeah, Matt, we're in a similar Facebook group when we're talking about podcasts, and somebody's like, yeah, I'm about to approach 1 million downloads. Like, I think I should start to sponsor. I'm like, good God. I'm like, if I had 1 million downloads, like, I would be retired. Like,
here's a paradigm shift we had just last week, 2 weeks ago was, because we've toyed around with the idea of sponsorships. We haven't done it yet. We have some people we're talking to that are very interested. So we'll see how that pans out. A pretty big company, but it's aggregate. Again, like if you're a small podcast, you don't need 1 million downloads to make money with that thing. You can have $1,000 downloads a month if you really, it's the right people that you're talking to. But think of all the other reach you have inside your business. So Facebook videos, ads, all this stuff, that all adds up. And essentially that could sometimes be more valuable than an actual podcast download number.
Yeah.
So package that stuff up into a sponsorship package. Someone with 1,000 downloads or wherever could probably demand more money than they think.
Yeah. I mean, we've sort of shifted into, with our podcast, kind of trying to become this media company where we can sell sponsorships. And we're not the biggest podcast in the world. We actually just broke the top 100 on iTunes, but we're not the biggest podcast in the world. But what we do have to offer sponsors is we've got a giant mailing list. We do have podcast listeners. We've got a blog that we can rotate banners through that get about 20,000 impressions a week. We've got whenever we boost Facebook posts, that we can get those up to 100,000 reach with Facebook. We've got social media followings. We've got Facebook groups we're involved in. So if somebody was to come in and sponsor our show, we would give them access to that entire platform, our entire sort of media brand that we've built. And we can legitimately get a sponsor in front of probably about 250,000 eyeballs each week based on some of the math that we've done. And only about 10,000 of those would come from our podcast. So
yeah, there's more money that we're all sitting on than we really think.
Yeah.
I think that's the point here.
Yeah. And we have really good friends that have a podcast that get about 3 million downloads a month. And they actually just invited us up, and we went and had lunch with them because they haven't figured out how to really monetize that yet. They have a handful of sponsors, but they're still trying to figure out, how do I ramp up the income with this?
There's the two different types of people in the world, the brand creators and the conversion people, right? And I had this conversation with Eric Sue. I flew out to LA about a month ago, and he works with people that have 1 million person email lists and blog followers, and they're great at attracting people, but terrible at like converting them into buyers. And so it's like, I'd rather have a small, mighty tribe than a massive one that I become an icon, but nobody's paying me anything. And so I have this reputation to put up that doesn't pay.
It sort of makes sense. I can understand the aspect of wanting to be very protective of your audience. But I mean, at some point, you've got to figure you're providing enough value that you can make that ask, kind of, the Gary Vaynerchuk, jab, 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 right hook. You've done enough jabs. Come on, start hooking a little.
Can't jab forever.
Awesome, guys. So let's drop some links. Like, where can we connect with you? Because you guys have tons of value that you can provide. This episode was awesome. So where can my audience connect with you guys?
So we actually made a custom link. So if you go to evergreenprofits.com/Joel, Joel, we actually made a custom page where they can go to that page and you can download our book. We actually just released a book on traffic called the Evergreen Traffic
Playbook.
The Evergreen Traffic Playbook. So we just launched that book. We released it yesterday for the first time. But if you're listening to this podcast, you can actually go get a free copy of it over at evergreenprofits.com/Joel. It's a free digital download, and we'll send that over. And if you go there and you opt in, you'll be in our ecosystem. You'll see the other stuff that we were talking about on this episode. And that book explains out the exact same strategies that we've talked about on this episode as well.
Awesome. So that's evergreenprofits.com/Joel. And your podcast is called Hustle and Flowchart. So we got a bunch of podcast listeners. Go down or go subscribe to their podcast there. And is that it?
That's it. Leave it there. I think keep it simple.
Sounds good. Guys, I had a blast today. Hopefully you guys had a blast. We talked about a ton of stuff. We chatted webinars, we chatted traffic, we chatted audience building, invisible funnels, all this other stuff. And my marketing audience is going to love it listening to this. And so I appreciate you guys coming on, Matt and Joe. And for everyone listening right now, make sure that you go connect with them. Stalk them on Facebook. They didn't drop their Facebook links, but you'll find them. Joe Fier, Matt Wolfe from evergreenprofits.com and Hustle and Flowchart. Guys, thank you so much for dropping your knowledge. And everyone else, we'll see you on the next episode. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and we look forward to giving you the next one. If you're serious about launching your own sales webinar, here are a few resources to check out. For free access to the software that we built internally for the webinar agency to train our copywriters, head to soldwithwebinars.com to sign up for a free trial to the Webinar Vault and get access to regular webinar breakdowns that are generating hundreds of thousands of dollars per month. If you'd like to work with me one-on-one on your webinar project, head to thewebinaragency.com for more details. And finally, be sure to subscribe to my other podcast, Experts Unleashed, where I interview changemakers and entrepreneurs to discover how they create opportunity to turn their expertise into income. Be sure to join us next time, and I'll see you there.